You know what they say, the good times never last, and F1 22 seems to suggest Codemasters' run of success has come to an end when it comes to the annual Formula 1 release. This year's game has seemingly faded away far faster than in previous years, but why? F1 is bigger than ever, with racetracks seeing record attendances and TV viewership, especially in the US. Even the F1 esports audience is growing, but for some reason F1 22 has dropped off faster than any game since F1 2019. So what has happened with F1 22, and what should Codemasters learn from it? I'm Mark from Racing Games, and I think we might just have the answers. Annual sports titles are notorious for being the same game every year, but the one title that avoided that tagline was the Formula 1 series. Codemasters usually had something new each year in their arsenal, be it a revised R&D tree, revamped interfaces, or the introduction of F2. Then there's My Team or Breaking Point as well. For the last several years there has always been something new in the F1 games. For F1 22, at least in career and My Team modes, there was nothing new. No new feature or any changes to development. There was the addition of sprint races and a few tweaks to practice, but that was it. Oh, and Claire and Jeff were shown the door too, but if anything, that's a removal, not an addition. The disappointment from players was very obvious. Thanks to Codemasters and EA's enormous pre-release push, we all knew well ahead of time that there wasn't anything changing in the way your rags to riches F1 journey would go. We did get the new cars introduced with their different feel, and there was a new track in Miami, but once the novelty of that wore off, players were left with the same game as last year, and it really hurt overall interest in the game. Oh wait a second, F1 22 did have a big new feature, F1 Life. F1 Life has been an enormous and entirely predictable flop. The idea was to bring players into the lifestyle of Formula 1 drivers. You could create an avatar with a casual wardrobe as well as race gear. They had a flat to furnish and could buy supercars to run through Pirelli Hot Lap challenges. The problem is that none of that interested players whatsoever, not even a little bit. People buy the F1 games to go racing in F1 cars, not to pick out carpets or buy Beats headphones for an avatar. The supercar aspect itself was somewhat intriguing, but once we were sat behind the wheel, it quickly became obvious that this would not be something we'd do again in a hurry. What was worse is that your F1 Life avatar isn't even your multiplayer avatar, and you couldn't race the supercar against friends. So even the good parts of F1 Life quickly became rubbish. It all felt disjointed and detached from the actual experience players came for. It was made even worse still when players started migrating to F1 22 from Gran Turismo 7, which for all its failures actually delivers when it comes to driving and racing supercars, something which F1 Life has fallen way short of. Quite what the thinking behind F1 Life was, we don't know, but it has been a huge miss for Codemasters, and if it is to return in future releases, it badly needs a rework. Before we move on, have you subscribed to Racing Games yet? Just one click and you're on the Racing Games grid. Oh, and hit that notification bell too so you never miss an upload. Alright, on with the video. The problems of F1 22 that we have discussed here, along with the usual legacy problems that come from a game with a lot of recycled code after years on the same engine, won't be fixed easily. Codemasters has two teams that work on alternating versions, so F1 23 is already well over halfway into its development. Its big feature is likely to be the next step in Breaking Point, rather than a core upgrade for My Team or Career Mode. The Odd Year team is the one that introduced the feeder series story in F1 2019 and Breaking Point in F1 2021, which is why we assume a return for Breaking Point will come next year. The Odd Year titles are the ones fans seem to enjoy most in recent years. There's more innovation, less issues, and more enjoyment. It could also be argued that Grid Legends releasing this year may have compromised development on F1 22 just a little, but that's pure speculation on our part. Like every annual sports game, there is a guaranteed player base for F1 regardless of features and gameplay innovation, but if Codemasters and EA want the series to grow in line with the overall growth of the sport, they have to keep the overall discussion of the game positive, which it just isn't right now. While things like an open livery design tool, non-championship tracks, and in-race commentary are never going to be a thing, no matter how many Reddit threads are started about it, there is some innovation that could happen. Opening up car design for my team so players can pick their side pods or front wing styles would be a good start, even if it's just for aesthetic purposes. Adding in personnel hiring and firing would also be great, although that might just step on the toes of the F1 Manager license a little too much. The R&D system would benefit from a complete overhaul too, especially when it comes to powertrain developments. We've discussed this in a previous video though, so I suggest you check that out once you finish this one of course. Another feature we've discussed before is bringing Grid's Nemesis system into the F1 series. It would really add an extra element to the single player experience. Instead of choosing your rivals in an off-track interview question, players would form rivalries each time an overtake went wrong. We're pretty sure Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda aren't exactly on speaking terms right now, and we F1 fans live for those moments. Again, we've mentioned this idea in a previous video, so I'll leave this point for now. With all being said, Codemasters have struck a great balance with F1 22 between both simulation and accessibility, and between using a controller and a wheel. That balance is key to enticing new players in, and while it might disappoint those at the top of the league pyramids to not push the game more towards sim gameplay, what they have right now does work. It's just the series is starting to feel stale outside of that, and it's a trend they must address now before it's too late. What do you think? Do you believe F1 22 was a letdown, or do you think players have overreacted? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to join in on the conversation. For now though, thanks for watching. I've been Mark from Racing Games, please like and subscribe for all things F1 22, and now I'm off to finally pick just which sunglasses my F1 Life avatar is going to wear. I know he'll be in a helmet every time I see him, but it's the principle.